The Imperium of Man had survived 10,000 years of existential horror. It had endured demon invasions, Xenos incursions, and the slow rot of civilization itself. It had weathered Horus's betrayal, the fall of Cadia, and the opening of the Great Rift, but nothing, absolutely nothing in the Emperor's divine plan had prepared humanity for the moment when Deadpool, Alucard, and the Mask fell screaming through a warp rift above Hive Terrastus. If you crave more tales from the Dark Millennium, smash that subscribe button. The Emperor protects those who support the channel. The dimensional tear vomited them out at terminal velocity, 3 figures plummeting toward the industrial hellscape below. Deadpool flailed like a cat thrown in a bathtub. Alucard descended with arms crossed, crimson coat billowing dramatically. The Mask spun like a cartoon pinwheel, leaving a rainbow trail and somehow honking a bicycle horn that shouldn't exist in the vacuum of space. "Ah!" Deadpool screamed. "Unauthorized crossover. I didn't sign the paperwork for this." "Oh, how delightful," Alucard purred, his voice dripping with sadistic pleasure as he watched the Hive world rush up to meet them. A new playground. I was getting so dreadfully bored with my old dimension. The Catholics stopped sending crusades. Can you believe that? Not a single fanatical zealot in months. "Smokin'." The Mask's voice somehow carried over the shrieking wind. His head rotated 360 degrees, taking in the scape of smokestacks, factorums, and Gothic cathedrals. "New city, new me. Time to paint the town red." Literally. Does anyone have paint? They impacted the roof of Cathedral Administratum Secundus at approximately 400 kilometers per hour. The explosion of masonry, stained glass, and structural steel should have killed them instantly. Instead, the dust cleared to reveal 3 figures standing in a crater, completely unharmed. Deadpool dusted off his costume. "Okay, so, where the hell are we? This doesn't look like the Marvel Universe. Not enough spandex. Way too much. Catholic Gothic architecture. Did we land in Vatican City's metal phase?" Smell that." Alucard inhaled deeply, a disturbing smile spreading across his face. "Despair, zealotry, and... Is that industrial runoff? This place is filthy. I love it." He adjusted his sunglasses and surveyed the Hive City below. "It's like Victorian London, and a steel mill had a very aggressive baby." The Mask produced a comically oversized magnifying glass from nowhere and examined a piece of debris. "According to my expert analysis," he licked the stone. "We're in deep doo-doo. Also, this tastes like suffering, with hints of oppression and a finish of casual disregard for human life." Klaxons wailed across the Hive. Red emergency lighting bathed the cathedral district. Through the shattered roof, they could see hundreds of armored soldiers rappelling down from Valkyrie gunships, Hive Guard in carapace armor, lace guns raised, faces hidden behind rebreather masks. "Heretics," a Vox-amplified voice boomed. "You have desecrated the sacred cathedral of the God Emperor. Submit to immediate execution or be purged with extreme prejudice." Deadpool looked at Alucard. Alucard looked at the Mask. The Mask looked at Deadpool. "Did he just say we're getting executed?" Deadpool asked. "I believe he did," Alucard confirmed, his grin widening to show far too many teeth. "Without even buying us dinner first?" The Mask gasped, clutching his chest dramatically. "How forward?" "Fire!" Last fire erupted from every direction. Concentrated beams of coherent light turned the crater into a light show. Deadpool was hit 17 times in the first second. The Mask took a blast to the face. Alucard stood completely still, allowing the laser gun fire to tear through his coat, his body, his very existence. The firing stopped. Smoke rose from the trio. "Ow," Deadpool said flatly. His bullet-riddled body regenerated instantly, flesh knitting back together with disgusting wet sounds. That stung. Like worse than my last colonoscopy. And I didn't even get sedated for that one. Or was that someone else's colonoscopy? The fourth wall gets fuzzy sometimes. Alucard's body reformed from shadow and blood, the holes closing like disturbed water. He tilted his head, examining the soldiers with predatory interest. How pedestrian. Light-based weaponry. In my day we used stakes, blessed silver, properly consecrated implements of destruction. Where's the romance? The mask's head inflated like a balloon, absorbed the damage, then deflated back to normal with a PTBBBT sound. Is that all you got? My grandmother hits harder than that, and she's been dead for 30 years. He paused. Allegedly. She might be a zombie. We don't talk about Grandma. A Hive Guard sergeant stared through his rebreather, brain trying to process what he'd just witnessed. They survived concentrated lass fire. That's impossible. Nothing survives. Impossible. Alucard's voice dropped to a sultry whisper that somehow carried across the entire district. Oh, darling, I've been impossible for over 500 years. You'll find I'm very good at it. He licked his lips slowly. Among other things. Deadpool leaned toward the nearest soldier. Was that innuendo? In the middle of getting shot? That's my shtick. I do the inappropriate commentary. You do the whole sexy vampire dominance thing. I can multitask, Alucard purred. The mask pulled out a notepad and pencil from hammer space. Let's see. Gratuitous violence, check. Religious zealots, check. Nobody appreciates our comedic timing, check. Yep, we're definitely in hell. Or New Jersey, hard to tell the difference. More Valkyries descended. Heavy weapons teams set up auto-cannons on nearby rooftops. A tech priest began chanting in binary, directing a servitor to prime a cannon. The entire Hive's military response was converging on their position. Heretics, the Vox-amplified voice continued. You will be... Deadpool raised a hand. Yeah. Purged, cleansed, executed, exterminatused. Is that a verb? Can you use exterminatus as a verb? I feel like you can. He drew both katanas from his back. But here's the thing, Padre Crunchy voice. We're kind of unkillable. Like, literally. I've got a healing factor. Tall, dark, and blood-sucking over here is immortal. And Mr. Greenface operates on cartoon physics. Which means, the mask added, producing a giant wooden mallet from behind his back. We can do this! He swung the mallet in a wide arc. It extended impossibly, growing to the size of a hab block, and smashed into an entire squadron of Hive Guard. They flew backward in perfect formation, leaving guard-shaped holes in the cathedral wall. Alucard threw his head back and laughed, the sound echoing across the Hive like breaking glass. Oh, I'm going to enjoy this dimension. The sergeant's hands trembled on his laser gun. What are you? Deadpool sheathed his swords and spread his arms wide. We, my militarized friend, are your new worst nightmare. I'm Deadpool, the merc with a mouth. That's Alucard, the no-life king with a very disturbing amount of enthusiasm for violence. And that's the Mask, who operates on rules that would make physics cry. Together, the Mask announced, striking a superhero pose. We're the unkillable comedy trio, coming to a grimdark dystopia near you. Alucard lit a cigarette that appeared from nowhere, took a long drag, and exhaled through his nose. I haven't had this much fun since Warsaw. Or was it Rio? The cities blur together after a few centuries of carnage. The Vox crackled. Inquisitor Corvus, en route. Hold the heretics. The Emperor's judgment comes. Deadpool perked up. Ooh, an Inquisitor. Are they like the Spanish Inquisition? Because nobody expects... Don't, Alucard warned. The Spanish Inquisition. The mask finished, and a full mariachi band materialized behind him, complete with sombreros and trumpets. Deadpool looked directly at the reader. "Folks, I can already tell this is going to be the weirdest crossover I've ever done. And I once fought alongside a talking duck in Warhammer 40k, with a vampire who makes everything creepy sexy, and a green guy who just summoned a Mexican band in a fascist hellscape. This narrator is going to earn their paycheck today." Below them, 100,000 citizens watched through grimy windows. The Hive Guard established a perimeter, and somewhere in the Cathedral District, an Inquisitor prepared to meet 3 beings who would change the 41st millennium forever, or at least make it significantly more uncomfortable. "So?" Alucard asked, examining his fingernails. "Who dies first?" "I do so enjoy a proper introduction, preferably one that involves screaming." The planetary governor arrived in a gilded transport, flanked by 6 Ogrins in ceremonial armor and a retinue of scribes carrying purity seals. Governor Maltheus Vorganis IX had ruled Hive Terastus for 43 years through a carefully balanced combination of brutal efficiency and theatrical piety. He descended from his transport with practiced dignity, his augmetic eye whirring as it focused on the 3 figures standing in the cathedral ruins. "I am Governor Maltheus Vorganis IX, planetary commander of Terastus, servant of the Golden Throne, bearer of the Seal of Terror, protector of..." "Boring." The mask yawned so wide his jaw unhinged like a snake's. "Get to the good part. Are there snacks?" "Please tell me there are snacks. I could murder a chimichanga." "That's my line," Deadpool protested. The governor's augmetic eye twitched. You dare interrupt an official imperial greeting. The prescribed protocol requires..." Alucard took a long, deliberate drag from his cigarette and exhaled directly into the governor's face. "I've seen empires rise and fall, little man. I've watched kings grovel before God and the devil. Your protocol bores me." He leaned in close, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow carried to everyone present. "But you might be entertaining. That augmetic eye. Did it hurt when they installed it?" "I do hope so." The governor stepped back, his normal eye widening. What? How dare you?" "Oh, I dare many things," Alucard purred. "Would you like a demonstration? I promise to be gentle, at first." Deadpool leaned toward a nearby scribe. "Is he always like this? Or did someone slip something in his blood supply? Because that's like weapons-grade innuendo. I'm impressed and disturbed. Impressed-turbed? Disimpressed?" The scribe just stared, stylus frozen over his data slate. The governor cleared his throat, attempting to regain composure. "Regardless of your disturbing behavior, imperial law requires I extend the opportunity for peaceful compliance. Surrender yourselves to His Imperial Majesty's justice, and your deaths will be swift and..." The mask pulled out an enormous book titled Imperial Regulations Volumes Mamampu from nowhere. The tome was so large it required both hands to hold. He licked his thumb and began flipping through pages. "Let's see. Peaceful compliance. Section 4387, subsection B, paragraph 15. Ah, here it is. It says, and I quote, blah, blah, blah. Suffer not the alien, blah, blah, blah. Purge the heretic, blah, blah, blah." He slammed the book shut. "You guys need better writers. Sir, where's the pizzazz? The razzle-dazzle?" "We don't, that's not..." The governor's organic eye twitched in sync with his augmetic one. Deadpool raised his hand like a student in class. "Question. What exactly is a god emperor? Is he a god who's also an emperor? An emperor who became a god? A god who does emperor cosplay on weekends? The branding is confusing. You need a better marketing team." One of the Ogrins growled. The governor held up a hand to forestall violence. The God Emperor of mankind is the immortal master of the Imperium, the Carrion Lord who sits upon the golden throne, the corpse on a chair. Alucard interjected smoothly. You worship a corpse on a very expensive chair. How delightfully morbid. I approve, though I must ask, does he sparkle? I've found corpses have a certain aesthetic appeal when they sparkle. Heresy! One of the scribes shrieked. Oh good, we've reached the heresy portion of the program, Deadpool said cheerfully. I was wondering when that would start. Do we get bingo cards? I feel like we should get bingo cards for heresy. The mask snapped his fingers, and bingo cards materialized in everyone's hands. The Hive Guard soldiers stared at them in confusion. Free space is, suffer not the Xenos, the mask announced, and I've already got a diagonal with Purge, Cleanse, Exterminatus, and the Emperor Protects. The governor's face turned an impressive shade of purple. This is not a jest. You stand upon sacred ground, having destroyed a consecrated cathedral, and you mock the God Emperor himself. Technically, Deadpool said, examining his fingernails, we fell through a dimensional portal and crashed. That's more of an accident than deliberate destruction, though I'll admit the mocking is pretty deliberate. That's just good customer service. Alucard circled the governor like a predator, his footsteps absolutely silent. Tell me, Governor, what would happen if I simply killed everyone here? Right now, in the most grotesquely violent way imaginable. He paused behind the governor, whispering directly into his ear. Would your emperor protect you? Or would he just add your name to the list of acceptable casualties? The governor spun around, drawing a plasma pistol with shaking hands. Stay back, demon. Demon? Alucard laughed, the sound like breaking mirrors. Oh no, darling. I'm something far worse. I'm enthusiastically me. The mask tapped the governor on the shoulder. When Malthius turned, the mask was suddenly wearing an inquisitor's hat and holding a comically oversized chainsword. I find you guilty of being a giant buzzkill. He revved the chainsword, which made cartoon engine sounds. The sentence is physical comedy. What followed could only be described as a Three Stooges routine performed by immortal beings upon imperial officials. The mask bopped the governor on the head with the chainsword, which had somehow transformed into a rubber, squeaky toy. Malthius stumbled backward into Alucard, who gently but firmly redirected him toward Deadpool. Deadpool extended his leg at precisely the right moment, and the governor tripped, arms windmilling as he crashed into his own scribes. The pile of bodies collapsed like dominoes. An Ogrin charged forward to defend his master. The mask pulled out an enormous banana peel and tossed it directly in the creature's path. The Ogrin's eyes widened in confusion before his feet went out from under him. 2 tons of muscle and bone hit the ground with a thunderous crash that cracked the pavement. Bonk! The mask provided his own sound effects. Another Ogrin swung a massive fist at Alucard. The vampire didn't move. He simply allowed the fist to pass through his head, which had transformed into shadow. The Ogrin's momentum carried him forward, and Alucard reformed behind him, casually pushing the giant into another Ogrin. They collided with a meaty thwack. Deadpool examined the scene, then looked at the fourth wall. You know, I thought Grimdark would be harder to undermine. Turns out when you're unkillable and completely shameless, even fascist theocracies become slapstick opportunities. Who knew? The governor struggled to his feet, his ceremonial robes torn, his augmetic eyes sparking. You dare! The mask produced an air horn and blasted it directly in the governor's face. Denied! Alucard picked up one of the unconscious scribes, examined him like a wine bottle, and gently set him down. Too scrawny. Not enough blood. You really should feed your staff better. He glanced at the governor. What's your healthcare policy? Because it seems inadequate. We don't. There is no. The governor's brain was visibly struggling to process the situation. Deadpool patted him on the shoulder sympathetically. Listen, Govy. Can I call you Govy? I'm going to call you Govy. Here's the thing. You live in a dystopian nightmare where everything is terrible all the time. We three? We're immortal chaos agents who literally cannot be killed and have no respect for authority. This was always going to end badly for you. The Inquisitor will what? Alucard asked, his tone suddenly sharp as a blade. Kill us. We've established that's impossible. Torture us. I've been tortured by professionals, by artists. Your Inquisitor will bore me. His smile returned. Though I welcome them to try. It's been too long since I've had a proper conversation with a religious fanatic. They make the most delightful sounds when they realize their faith won't save them. The mask pulled the governor close, as if sharing a secret. Between you and me, pal, you should probably evacuate this whole district, because when Mr. Tall, Dark, and Creepy gets going, things get messy. And not the fun, confetti kind of messy. The why is there a torso on the ceiling kind of messy. The governor's vox bead crackled. Sir, Inquisitor Corvus is 3 minutes out. Orders. Malthius looked at the three beings standing in his ruined cathedral district. The vampire who spoke in sultry threats. The scarlet-clad madman who broke reality with commentary. The green-faced thing that turned violence into vaudeville. Emperor preserve us, he whispered. Probably won't, Deadpool said cheerfully. But hey, points for optimism. Inquisitor Helena Corvus of the Ordo. Hereticus descended from her personal thunderhawk like an avenging angel, if angels wore power armor decorated with purity seals, and carried a bolt pistol in one hand and a force sword in the other. Her retinue included 2 crusaders, a psyker bound in psychic dampeners, and a servo skull that recorded everything for the inquisitorial archives. She strode through the devastated cathedral district without breaking pace, her armored boots crunching over broken masonry and unconscious hive guard. The servo skull's mechanical eye whirred, capturing every detail. Inquisitor Corvus was a woman who had stared into the heart of corruption without flinching. She had personally purged 17 cults, executed 43 heretics, and ordered exterminatus on one planet where the taint had spread too far. She feared nothing in the material realm or the warp. She stopped 10 meters from the trio, taking in the scene with cold assessment. The crater, the bodies, the three beings standing amid the carnage with expressions ranging from boredom to predatory interest to manic glee. I am Inquisitor Helena Corvus, she announced, her voice amplified by her armor's vox casters. By the authority of the God Emperor and the Holy Ordos, I demand you— Let me stop you right there, Deadpool interrupted, holding up a finger. We've already done the whole formal introduction, demands, threats, violence routine with the governor. It ended with him crying in a pile of his own scribes. Do we really need to do this again? Can't we skip to the part where you realize we're unkillable and we all go get tacos? The Inquisitor's jaw tightened. There are no tacos in the Imperium. What? The mask clutched his chest dramatically. No tacos? What kind of dystopian hellscape? Oh right, the kind where everything is terrible all the time. Forgot. My bad. Corvus ignored him, focusing on Alucard. Something about the tall vampire made her trained instincts scream warnings. I sense something. Xenos? Demon? Neither. Alucard smiled slowly, revealing entirely too many teeth. Oh, how perceptive. Most religious fanatics take much longer to realize I'm not quite natural. He took a step forward, and the Inquisitor's crusaders immediately raised their power mauls. I'm a vampire, darling. Nosferatu, the undead. A creature that drinks blood and murders with abandon. He paused. Though in this dimension, I suspect that barely registers as unusual. Vampire, Corvus repeated flatly. There are no such things in Imperial records. You are either a mutant, a psyker, or a demon wearing flesh. I'm option D. Absolutely fabulous, Alucard purred. Deadpool raised his hand again. quick question about your whole Inquisition thing. Do you guys have an HR department? Because I feel like some of your purging practices might violate workplace safety regulations. Also, do you get dental? Asking for a friend. The Inquisitor turned her helmet toward him. You speak heresy with every breath. Technically, I speak oxygen deprivation with every breath, but sure, let's go with heresy. Sounds more metal. Deadpool cocked his head. Hey, is that armor compensating for something? Because wow, that's a lot of religious iconography. I count 17 purity seals? That seems excessive. Are you insecure about your faith? It's okay to be insecure. I'm insecure about my face. See? Sharing. The Psyker in Corvus's retinue suddenly gasped, his eyes rolling back. Inquisitor, I sense nothing and everything. They exist outside of... He screamed, blood running from his nose. The fourth wall. They're beyond the fourth wall. Oh crap, I broke the psychic, Deadpool said. That's gonna come out of my deposit. The mask leaned toward the Psyker with exaggerated concern. You okay there, buddy? You're leaking. Do you need a band-aid? I've got cartoon band-aids. They have little duckies on them. Inquisitor Corvus made a hand signal. Her crusaders advanced, power mauls crackling with energy. Last chance. Surrender or... Alucard was suddenly behind one of the crusaders, moving faster than the human eye could track. He wrapped his arms around the armored warrior in an embrace that was somehow both threatening and inappropriate. Or what, sweetness? You'll hit me with your electric stick? How kinky. The crusader swung backward with his maul. It passed through Alucard's head, which had again become shadow, and struck his own helmet with a shower of sparks. Ooh, friendly fire, Deadpool narrated. That's gonna hurt the team's performance review. The second crusader charged the mask, power maul raised for a devastating overhead strike. The mask stood perfectly still until the weapon was inches from his face, then his head suddenly inflated like a balloon, absorbing the impact. The maul bounced off with a boing sound, and the crusader stumbled backward, off balance. The mask's head deflated. You know what your problem is. No sense of humor. You're all grimdark this, purge that, the Emperor protects. Where's the joy, the whimsy, the musical numbers? There are no musical numbers in the Imperium, Corvus growled. There are now. The mask snapped his fingers. A full orchestra materialized, skeletal musicians in tuxedos, completely impossible. They began playing an upbeat jazz number as the mask tap danced across the ruined cathedral, his feet leaving cartoon dust clouds. Stop this heresy immediately. Corvus raised her bolt pistol and fired. The mass-reactive bolt struck Deadpool in the chest. It penetrated his costume, burrowed into his sternum, and detonated. His torso exploded in a shower of gore, organs, and bone fragments. Deadpool looked down at the massive hole in his chest. Huh, that's new. Explosive bullets. Neat. The Inquisitor watched in horror as his body regenerated in real time. Flesh writhed and grew like time-lapse footage of cancer. Bones cracked back into place. Organs reformed from nothing. Within 30 seconds, he was completely intact. That actually tickled, Deadpool said, prodding his newly regenerated ribs. Do it again. No, wait, don't. Yes, wait, do. I'm conflicted. Corvus's hand trembled, the first sign of fear she'd shown in 20 years of service. What? What are you? I'm Deadpool, and I'm here to talk to you about your car's extended warranty, he said in a cheerful voice. Also, I literally cannot die. Like at all, I've tried. It doesn't work. Trust me, I've made it weird. Alucard released the Crusader and walked toward the Inquisitor with slow, deliberate steps. You want to know what we are? Allow me to demonstrate. He held up his right hand. The Casole, a massive handgun that looked like it could punch through tank armor, materialized in his grip. He pointed it at his own head and pulled the trigger. The Crusaders lunged forward, but too late. The gun roared. Alucard's head exploded in a fountain of blood and brain matter, his headless body swaying. "Thrown!" one of the Crusaders swore. The blood reversed direction, flowing backward through the air like a disturbing film played in rewind. Alucard's head reformed from the crimson mist, his face reconstructing itself piece by piece. Within seconds, he was whole, smiling that predatory smile. "See," he said conversationally, "I'm a bit hard to kill. It's rather inconvenient for everyone else." The Inquisitor's training warred with her survival instincts. "Your abominations, warp spawn, demon-possessed, you must be destroyed." "Must we?" Alucard asked, tilting his head. "I'm having such a lovely time. This dimension is delightfully bleak. You're all so serious, so committed to your suffering. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet of violence and zealotry." The mask produced a director's chair and sat down, pulling out a bag of popcorn. "This is getting good. Keep going, Inquisitor Lady. Really commit to the denial. It's funnier that way." Corvus activated her Vox. "All units, converge on my position. Authorization, Amber. We have a situation requiring—" Deadpool yanked the Vox bead from her helmet with casual speed. "Nope, no calling for backup. We're trying to have a conversation here. It's rude to phone a friend in the middle of a chat." The Inquisitor drew her force sword, psychic energy crackling along its length. "Then I will end this myself." She swung the blade at Alucard's neck. The vampire didn't dodge. He caught the blade between his hands, the psychic energy sizzling against his palms. The smell of burning flesh filled the air. "Ooh, that stings," Alucard said, his eyes gleaming with delight. "Finally, something with a bit of bite to it. Tell me, Inquisitor, does your God answer when you pray? Or does he just let you flounder in the dark, hoping faith will be enough?" He released the blade and backhanded Corvus across the face. Her helmet rang like a bell, and she stumbled backward. The Crusaders caught her before she fell. You struck an Inquisitor of the Holy Ordos," she gasped. "I strike everyone," Alucard replied. "Equal opportunity violence. I'm very progressive that way." Deadpool pulled out both katanas. "Okay, so cards on the table. We're immortal. You can't kill us. We've demonstrated this multiple times. Your God Emperor is apparently a corpse on a chair who doesn't do much actual protecting. And we've been here, 30 minutes? And we've already destroyed a cathedral, humiliated a governor, and made an Inquisitor question her life choices." "Where are you going with this?" Corvus asked warily. "I'm saying maybe, just maybe, you should work with us instead of trying to purge us," Deadpool suggested. "Because we're gonna be here a while. This dimension doesn't have an exit sign, and we're bored, very, very bored." The mask stood up, the popcorn and chair vanishing. "He's right. We could be your new best friends. We're fun, we're unkillable, and we have flexible moral codes. What's not to love?" "You mock the Emperor," Corvus said quietly. "We mock everyone," Alucard countered. "It's what we do. But we're also very good at killing things. Point us at your enemies and we'll turn them into artistic expressions of violence." The Psyker groaned from his position on the ground. "Inquisitor, I see. Dimensions colliding. The warp recoils from them. They exist outside everything." Corvus looked at her force sword, then at the three beings who had shrugged off everything the Imperium had thrown at them. Her tactical mind processed the situation. 3 unkillable entities. Impossible to contain. Impossible to destroy. Already proven immune to conventional weapons, bolt rounds, power weapons, and psychic assault. "What do you want?" she asked. "Entertainment," Alucard said simply. "This dimension provides that." "Chimichangas," Deadpool added. "But apparently those don't exist here, so I guess just general chaos and violence." "Razzle-dazzle," the mask shouted, jazz hands extended. The Inquisitor holstered her bolt pistol. "You're going to be a problem." "The best kind of problem," Deadpool assured her. The Chaos Cult had been operating in Underhive Sigma 7 for 6 months. They worshipped the Dark Prince, Slaanesh, with the enthusiasm of the truly desperate and truly damned. Their leader, a former Hab worker named Calix, who now wore far too much leather and too many piercings, had successfully corrupted 47 souls to the service of She Who Thirsts. Tonight was supposed to be their greatest ritual, the summoning of a demon prince to lead them in glorious excess and depravity. Instead, they got Deadpool, Alucard, and the mask. "Okay, so," Deadpool said, examining the ritual circle drawn in blood on the floor, "I'm no expert on demonic summonings, but I feel like you guys maybe messed up the Latin. Is this even Latin? It looks like... Is that Comic Sans? Did you write your evil ritual in Comic Sans?" The cultists stared at the 3 figures who had simply walked through their carefully warded sanctum as if the protective runes were wallpaper. Alucard inhaled deeply, his eyes closed in apparent ecstasy. Desperation, sexual dysfunction, and is that patchouli oil? How delightfully cliché. He opened his eyes, focusing on Calix. You're the leader of this sad little gathering." Calix stepped forward, his confidence bolstered by months of dark whispers from the warp. "I am the chosen of Slaanesh. I have gazed into the abyss of pleasure and pain. I have..." The mask produced a giant hook and yanked Calix off his feet, dragging him across the floor like a vaudeville act. "Boring. Next." A cultist raised a jagged ritual dagger. "You dare interrupt our sacred..." Deadpool shot him in the knee. The cultist collapsed, screaming. "Okay, time out," Deadpool announced, making a T-shape with his hands. "Let me explain something. We're currently operating at about 60% annoyed, 30% curious, and 10% hungry. You guys worship a chaos god of excess, right? The sexy murder pain one? She Who Thirsts demands tribute," another cultist shrieked. "Blood and suffering and..." Yeah, blood and suffering, we get it," Deadpool interrupted. "Here's the thing. You guys are amateurs. You're finger painting with blood when you should be creating masterpieces of mayhem. It's embarrassing." Alucard circled the cultists like a shark. "He's right, you know. I've encountered demon worshippers across 5 centuries. Satanists, cultists, religious zealots of every flavor. And you lot..." He laughed. "You're pathetic. Your ritual is wrong. Your dedication is superficial. You haven't even properly defiled this sanctum. Where's the passion? The commitment?" One of the cultists, braver or more foolish than the rest, lunged at Alucard with a chains ward. The vampire caught the weapon mid-swing, allowed it to tear through his hand, and smiled as the cultist realized his mistake. "Oh, you sweet summer child," Alucard purred. "You think that hurts me? I've been dismembered by Van Helsing himself. I've had stakes driven through my heart by the Catholic Church. I've been blessed, burned, and broken by professionals." His hand regenerated around the chains ward, bones knitting over the spinning teeth. "Your little toy is adorable." He ripped the chainsword free and tossed it aside. Then, faster than human eyes could track, he had the cultist by the throat, lifting him off the ground. But since you're so eager for pain... What happened next made the other cultists recoil in horror. Alucard didn't just kill the man, he made it performance art. Blood sprayed in arterial patterns across the walls. The cultists' screams echoed with a musical quality that suggested Alucard was deliberately controlling the pitch. When the vampire finally dropped the corpse, the cultists stared in shocked silence. "That," Alucard announced, licking blood from his fingers, "is how you do excess. With style, with commitment, with a proper understanding of anatomy and how to maximize suffering." He looked at the remaining cultists. "You're welcome for the lesson." The mask walked over to the ritual circle and examined it with exaggerated scrutiny. "You know what this needs? Jazz hands." He thrust his hands upward, and the blood in the circle spontaneously rearranged itself into a smiley face. "No!" Calyx shrieked. "You've ruined the summoning. The Dark Prince will—" The temperature dropped. The candles flickered. Reality bent at the corners of the sanctum, and something began pushing through from the warp. A demon materialized, lesser demon of Slaanesh, all wrong angles and disturbing beauty, its form shifting between states of matter like oil on water. It opened its mouth, and 1,000 screaming voices emerged. "Who dares summon?" Alucard shot it in the face with the cassule. The demon's head exploded. It staggered backward, ichor spraying from its neck. Then it regenerated, its features reforming into an expression of utter confusion. Did you just shoot me?" the demon asked. "Yes," Alucard confirmed. It seemed appropriate. Deadpool drew his katanas. "Ooh, a demon. I've never fought a demon before. This is new content. The readers are gonna love this." "What readers?" the demon asked. "Exactly." Deadpool lunged forward, slashing in a complex pattern that would have disemboweled a normal opponent. The demon phased through the attacks, its form becoming translucent. "Oh, that's cheating. You can't just go incorporeal. That's a violation of the Geneva Convention." "The what?" the demon asked, genuinely confused. The mask pulled out an enormous vacuum cleaner from Hemmerspace. "If you're going to be all ghosty, then I'll just suck you up." He turned on the vacuum, which roared to life with a sound like a jet engine. The demon resisted for approximately 3 seconds before being pulled into the vacuum cleaner's bag. The mask turned it off, patted the bag, and heard muffled screaming from inside. "Huh," Deadpool said. Did we just capture a warp entity with a vacuum cleaner?" "Cartoon physics," the mask explained. "They're very useful." Alucard stared at the vacuum cleaner with something approaching respect. "I like you. You're delightfully absurd." The cultists had backed into a corner, their faith in Slaanesh severely shaken. Calyx fell to his knees. "The Dark Prince, the demon, you just—" "Yeah, we did," Deadpool confirmed. "And honestly, I'm disappointed. I thought demons would be scarier. This one was like a C- on the horror scale. Maybe a C+ if I'm being generous." Another ripple in reality. More demons began pushing through. 3 this time, all shrieking in harmony. Alucard's grin widened until it split his face. "Oh, good. More playmates." He released his limiters. Shadows exploded from his body, filling the sanctum with writhing darkness. Eyes opened in the black. Thousands of them, all belonging to the souls Alucard had consumed over 5 centuries. The demons shrieked in recognition. "You," one demon hissed. "You're not of this reality. You're other." "I'm a vampire," Alucard said simply, "and I've done this for over 500 years. You're not special. You're not frightening. You're just new toys." The shadows consumed the demons. There was screaming, so much screaming, and when the darkness receded, only ichor remained. The cultists stared in absolute horror. "I think we broke them," Deadpool observed. "Their whole worldview just shattered. Look at their faces. That's the face of people realizing they picked the wrong gods to worship." The mask sat down cross-legged in front of Calyx. "Let me explain something, pal. You wanted excess, pleasure, and pain beyond mortal comprehension? Well, guess what? We're way more excessive than your chaos gods. We're unkillable, we're unpredictable, and we're bored, which means you—" He booped Calyx on the nose. "Our entertainment." Calyx's eyes had gone vacant. "The Dark Prince abandoned us." "No," Alucard corrected, crouching to Calyx's level. "Your Dark Prince realized we're more trouble than you're worth. Even chaos has standards, apparently. How does that make you feel?" Calix's voice broke. I don't... Deadpool sighed dramatically. Great. We broke the cult. This is what happens when you three-man a dungeon meant for an entire inquisitorial strike force. You break it too fast, and all the loot is boring. One of the cultists tried to run. The mask extended his arm like taffy, grabbed the cultist by the ankle, and yanked him back. Where do you think you're going? We're not done with story time. Please, the cultist begged. Just kill us. Kill you? Alucard stood, brushing demon ichor from his coat. Oh no, darling, that would be merciful. Instead, I think we'll let you live. Let you spread the word. Tell everyone in this underhive that 3 beings arrived who made demons look tame. Let them know, Deadpool added, that chaos isn't the scariest thing in this galaxy anymore. We are. The mask produced business cards and began handing them out. The unkillable comedy trio, available for birthdays, weddings, and apocalyptic interventions. Call now. The cultists fled, scrambling over each other in their desperation to escape. The sanctum emptied in seconds, leaving only blood, ichor, and the vacuum cleaner containing one very confused demon. Deadpool looked at his companions. So, did we just accidentally start our own cult by being scarier than chaos? I believe we did, Alucard confirmed. Excellent. The mask pulled out confetti and threw it into the air. We're trending. Somewhere in the warp, the Chaos Gods felt something they hadn't experienced in millennia. Genuine confusion. These 3 beings didn't worship them, didn't fear them, didn't even acknowledge their cosmic importance. And somehow that was more disturbing than any prayer or piety could ever be. The Orc descended on Hive Terrestus 3 days after the trio's arrival. Thousands of greenskins, drawn by the promise of a proper scrap, crashed through the Hive's outer defenses like a tidal wave of violence and enthusiastic brutality. Warboss Grimtooth stood 9 feet tall, his body a mountain of muscle, scrap metal, and weaponized enthusiasm. He'd heard about 3 weird gits who couldn't be killed and made demons run away. That sounded like the best fight he'd had in years. He found them in the market district, where Deadpool was arguing with a servitor about the price of ammunition. I'm telling you, Robo-Buddy, I need 12,000 rounds of 9 mimipitters. No, I don't care, that's not standard Imperial ammunition. Work with me here. I've got katanas to maintain and a reputation to uphold. The servitor's mechanical response crackled through its Vox grill. This unit does not recognize your currency. Please present valid Imperial credits or... Oi, Grimtooth bellowed, his voice shaking dust from the rafters. You da unkillable gits. The trio turned. Deadpool cocked his head. Oh wow, that's the biggest fungus I've ever seen, and I once fought a villain who was literally made of mushrooms. This is way more impressive, though. Alucard studied the orc with predatory interest. Fascinating. A creature that exists solely for combat. No pretense of civilization. No tedious philosophy. Just violence, he smiled. I think I'm in love. The mask pulled out binoculars and examined Grimtooth. Yep, that's definitely an angry pile of muscles and scrap metal. 10 out of 10 would not recommend for a dinner party. Grimtooth pointed his massive chopper at them. I's gonna crump you git so hard, your teeth gonna end up in the next sector. Finally, Deadpool drew his katanas. Someone who speaks my language, loud, aggressive, and grammatically questionable. The warboss charged. The ground shook with each footfall. Behind him, 100 boys roared their approval, firing sluggers and choppers into the air. The mask pulled out an enormous stop sign from Hammerspace. Grimtooth ran directly into it with a metallic clang that echoed across the district. The sign bent around his face like a cartoon anvil. The warboss stumbled backward, confused. Oi, that ain't proper fightin'. Says who? The mask produced a rule book titled Proper Fightin' Rules and threw it at Grimtooth's head. The book exploded into confetti. Those rules? The orcs stared for a moment. Then they started laughing, deep, bellowing guffaws that shook their massive frames. "That's funny," one boy shouted. "Do it again." Deadpool looked at Alucard. Did we just make the orcs laugh?" "I believe we did," Alucard confirmed. "How unexpected and delightful." Grimtooth shook his head, clearing the stars from his vision. Then he grinned, showing a jaw full of metal teeth. "You gits is weird. I like weird. Let's have a proper scrap." He swung his chopper in a horizontal arc, designed to cut all three of them in half. Alucard let it pass through his shadow form. Deadpool ducked under it with acrobatic grace. The mask's body flattened like paper, and the blade passed harmlessly over him. "Multi-shot," the mask shouted, pulling out a Tommy gun and firing. The bullets were actual tomatoes. They splattered across Grimtooth's armor in red explosions. The orcs howled with laughter. "Dat ain't gonna hurt." Deadpool shot him in the knee with an actual gun. The war boss grunted, looked down at the bullet hole, and laughed. "Now date's more like it." Alucard walked through the crowd of boys, completely ignored them, and approached Grimtooth. "You know what I appreciate about you? No pretense, no philosophy. You see something, you hit it. It's refreshingly honest." "Yeah, hittin' things is best," Grimtooth agreed. Then he tried to headbutt Alucard. The vampire caught the war boss's head between his hands. For a moment, they stood frozen, irresistible force meeting immovable object. Then Alucard smiled and let Grimtooth's momentum carry through. The war boss stumbled forward, confused. "You're strong," Alucard purred. "I like that. Most opponents die too quickly. You might actually last a few minutes." "A few minutes?" Grimtooth roared. "I's the biggest, strongest, greenest war boss in the sector." "Prove it," Alucard challenged. What followed was the most bizarre fight the 41st millennium had ever witnessed. Grimtooth swung his chopper repeatedly. Each time, one of the trio responded with increasingly absurd tactics. Deadpool caught the blade between his hands and got bisected for his trouble, then regenerated while making commentary about needing to see a chiropractor after this. The mask turned into a giant spring and bounced Grimtooth's attacks back at him. Alucard simply stood there and let himself be chopped into pieces, reforming each time with a sultry comment about enjoying the rough treatment. The orcs watching weren't confused, they were delighted. "They just keep coming back," one boy shouted. "It's like watching a show," another added. "This is better than when we fought the Humies on Armageddon." Deadpool noticed the audience appreciation. He looked directly at the orcs. "You guys actually get it. The slapstick, the violence, the complete disregard for safety. You're my people. Well, not my people, you're like fungi people, but spiritually, you're my people." The mask pulled out a director's megaphone. "Ladies and gentle orcs, for my next trick, I will need a volunteer from the audience." 20 orcs raised their hands eagerly. The mask pointed at a particularly enthusiastic boy. "You, come on down. You're the next contestant on How Much Violence Can You Take?" The boy rushed forward, grinning. The mask produced an enormous mallet and bonked him on the head. The orc went cross-eyed, tiny birds circling his head in a cartoon spiral. Then he shook it off and laughed. "Dat tickled. Do it again." Alucard leaned toward Grimtooth. "Your boys have excellent taste in entertainment." "Yeah, they do," Grimtooth agreed. Then he paused. "Wait, why ain't we still fighting?" "Because this is more fun," Alucard said simply. He gestured to the mask, who was now juggling orcs with impossible strength. Deadpool was teaching a group of boys about proper sword technique by demonstrating on his own body, regenerating each self-inflicted wound. "When was the last time you had fun that wasn't just hitting things?" Grimtooth considered this. "Never?" "Exactly. Try something new." The mask finished juggling and took a bow. The orcs applauded. Actual applause, something they'd never done before. It felt weird. They liked it. Deadpool sheathed his katanas. Okay, real talk. You orcs are the only faction in this entire grimdark nightmare that actually appreciates comedy. The Imperium is too busy being fascist. Chaos is too busy being edgy. But you guys, you see a green man turn someone into a spring and you laugh. That's beautiful. We just like when things is funny, one boy said. See? Deadpool gestured emphatically. Pure, uncomplicated appreciation for physical comedy. No pretense. No, this is heresy, or the Emperor wouldn't approve. Just genuine joy at watching people get hit with mallets. Grimtooth scratched his head. So, we still fightin', or what? The mask pulled out 3 chairs and a table from Hammerspace. Better idea, let's play cards. Cards? Grimtooth looked confused. Cards, the mask confirmed, dealing out hands. Winner gets, I don't know, bragging rights, a trophy, the knowledge they beat the mask at poker. Alucard sat down, examining his cards with theatrical interest. I haven't played poker in decades. This should be amusing. Deadpool joined them. I should warn you, I cheat, like constantly. It's part of my charm. So do we, Grimtooth laughed, sitting down. The chair immediately collapsed under his weight. He sat on the ground instead. This is proper fun. An hour later, the Hive Guard reinforcements arrived to find the most bizarre scene in Imperial history. 3 unkillable entities playing cards with a war boss and his boys, while the mask provided entertainment by shape-shifting into increasingly ridiculous forms, and Alucard narrated their poker game like a sports commentator with disturbingly sexual undertones. And Grimtooth raises with another 10 teeth. Alucard purred into an invisible microphone. Such confidence, such raw, aggressive gambling. It's positively thrilling. Why do you talk like that? An orc asked. Because it makes people uncomfortable, Alucard explained, and I find that delightful. Oh, that makes sense. The Hive Guard sergeant activated his vox. Command, this is Theta 7. Requesting clarification on the Xenos engagement. The orcs appear to be playing cards with the heretics. Repeat last, Theta 7. Did you say playing cards? Affirmative, Command. Also, they appear to be having fun. There was a long silence on the vox. Stand by for inquisitorial guidance, Theta 7. Deadpool won the hand with a straight flush. The orcs groaned good-naturedly. Grimtooth threw his cards down. That's the 3rd time you's won. How you doing dat? I told you I cheat, Deadpool said cheerfully. Plus, I can see the narrative structure. 4th wall breaking gives me a statistical advantage. What's a 4th wall? Exactly. Deadpool pointed at the invisible camera. See, folks, the orcs are learning. This is character development. We're growing together. The mask stood on the table. Gentlemen, this has been a wonderful afternoon of violence, card games, and questionable life choices. But I think it's time we discuss the real issue. What issue? Grimtooth asked. That, the mask pointed at the Hive Guard surrounding them. They're totally going to try to kill us again, which is rude. We're bonding. Grimtooth looked at the guard. The guard looked at Grimtooth. The war boss looked back at the trio. You gits is weird, he said finally, but you's all right. Any git what wants to crump you has to go through me first. The boys roared their approval. Deadpool's jaw dropped behind his mask. Did we just accidentally recruit an orc war? I believe we did, Alucard said, sounding genuinely pleased. How wonderfully chaotic. The Hive Guard sergeant activated his vox again. Command, situation has escalated. The orcs have allied with the heretics. Requesting immediate... Grimtooth threw an empty bottle at him. Shut up, we's having a moment. The Ultramarines arrived in force. 3 squads of Space Marines. the Emperor's finest, led by Captain Titus Octavian of the Second Company. They descended from Thunderhawks in perfect formation, bolters raised, chants of devotion echoing through their vox grills. Captain Octavian had served the Emperor for 200 years. He had fought orcs on Armageddon, purged Tyranids on Macragge, and stood firm against the ruinous powers on a dozen worlds. He embodied the Codex Astartes. He was the Codex Astartes given flesh. He was completely unprepared for what happened next. "Brothers," he announced, his voice amplified through his power armor, "we face an unprecedented threat. 3 entities of unknown origin who have corrupted citizens, defiled imperial property, and most heretically, allied with Xeno's scum. By Guilliman's grace, we shall—" A cream pie hit him in the face. The Ultramarines stood frozen. Their combat protocols had no response for this. Captain Octavian slowly wiped cream from his helmet's optics. "Who dares?" Another pie. This one had cherries. The mask stood 50 meters away, holding an industrial-sized pie launcher. "Food fight." He pulled the trigger. 40 pies launched in rapid succession, each one targeting a different space marine with impossible accuracy. "Evasive maneuvers," Octavian commanded. The Ultramarines scattered with practiced efficiency. The pies followed them, curving through the air in defiance of physics. Every space marine took at least 1 pie to the helmet. The sounds of impact echoed like a bizarre symphony. Splat. 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 Deadpool leaned against a wall, watching. "You know, I've fought a lot of super soldiers. Captain America, Wolverine, that one guy who could turn into metal, but I've never seen super soldiers get pied before. This is going in my highlight reel." One Ultramarine managed to dodge his pie. He raised his bolter triumphantly, then slipped on a banana peel that hadn't been there a second ago. He crashed to the ground with an armored thud that cracked the pavement. "The classics never die," the mask said proudly. Captain Octavian's tactical assessment concluded these were not normal enemies. He activated his Vox. "All units, lethal force authorized. These heretics have violated the dignity of the Adeptus Astartes. They must be—" Alucard was suddenly standing directly behind him. "Dignity? Oh, sweetness. You can't violate what you never truly had." Octavian spun, bringing his power fist around in a blow that could shatter tank armor. Alucard caught the fist in his hand. The impact generated a shockwave that shattered windows for 100 meters. The vampire didn't move. "Strong," Alucard purred. "I like strong, but let me show you something." He yanked the power fist downward and head-butted Octavian's helmet. The ceramite cracked. The captain stumbled backward, his enhanced physiology struggling to process the concussion. Through the ringing in his ears, he heard Alucard's voice. "You're not the first super soldier I've fought. I've battled Nazi vampires with modified physiology. I've killed regenerating freaks who thought themselves gods. You're impressive, certainly, but you're not special." "Heresy," an Ultramarine shouted, opening fire with his bolter. The mass-reactive round stitched across Alucard's torso. Explosions tore through his body. For 3 seconds, he was more whole than vampire. Then he regenerated, his body knitting back together like disturbing time-lapse footage. "Is that your best? Because I'm already bored?" Deadpool engaged 2 Ultramarines in melee combat. His katanas sparked against their combat knives. "Okay, so, fun fact about Space Marines." He ducked under a slash. "You guys are genetically engineered super warriors, enhanced strength, speed, durability." He parried a thrust. "You've got 2 hearts, 3 lungs, and an acid-spitting thing." He kicked one in the chest. The Ultramarine didn't budge. "But you know what you don't have?" He allowed himself to be stabbed through the gut. "A sense of humor." The katana protruded from his back. Deadpool looked down at it, then up at the Ultramarine. "This is awkward. Should I pull it out or leave it in? What's the etiquette here? He yanked the blade out himself and regenerated. See, that's the thing about having a healing factor. Every injury is just a temporary inconvenience, like a bad haircut or a disappointing Netflix series. The Ultramarines adapted quickly. They were, after all, the finest warriors humanity could produce. They formed a firing line, concentrated their firepower, and executed a perfectly coordinated tactical purge. Deadpool, Alucard, and the Mask were hit with enough ordnance to level a building. Bolter rounds, plasma blasts, and melter fire converged on their position. When the smoke cleared, the three stood in a crater, completely intact. "That tickled," the Mask announced. He pulled out a report card from Hammerspace and showed it to the Ultramarines. "I give you a C- for effort. You're all trying very hard, but you're missing the razzle-dazzle." Captain Octavian's tactical genius engaged. If they couldn't be killed by conventional means, perhaps containment. Tactical withdrawal. Prepare containment protocols. "Ooh, he's learning," Deadpool said. "Character growth, I love it." The Ultramarines retreated in perfect formation, laying down suppressing fire. They moved toward a pre-prepared containment zone, null field generators that would theoretically trap the entities. Alucard let them. He was curious. They entered the zone, the null fields activated. Reality became heavy, oppressive. Psychic powers were suppressed. Warp phenomena disrupted. The Mask looked around. Tingly. Then he pulled out a jackhammer and started drilling through the floor. But not effective. The null fields did absolutely nothing to cartoon physics. "Impossible," Octavian breathed. "The null fields should neutralize any warp-based abilities." "They probably do," Deadpool agreed. "But we're not warp-based. I'm mutation-based. Tall, dark, and sultry. Over there is vampire-based. And Mr. Greenface operates on cartoon-based. You're using the wrong counter." Alucard walked through the null field as if it were mist. "A valiant attempt, truly. You analyzed the threat, adapted your tactics, and attempted containment rather than direct confrontation. Guilliman would be proud." He smiled. "But you made one critical error." "What error?" Octavian demanded. "You assumed we operated by rules you understood." The vampire released his restrictions. Shadows exploded from his body, but these weren't warp phenomena. They were something else entirely, something that predated the warp, something from a dimension where different rules applied. The null field sputtered and died, unable to process what they were encountering. The Ultramarines opened fire again. Disciplined, professional, perfect, and completely ineffective. Deadpool teleported between them. No, not teleported, just moved with such erratic unpredictability that their targeting systems couldn't track him. He appeared behind one Marine, tapped his shoulder, and when the warrior turned, Deadpool was already somewhere else. "You can't predict me," Deadpool sang, "because I don't even know what I'm going to do next. That's the beauty of being clinically insane." The Mask grew to the size of a titan, his cartoon body stretching impossibly. "Fee-fi-fo-fum, I smell the blood of an Ultramarine." He picked up two Space Marines like action figures. "Now kiss!" He smooshed their helmets together. Captain Octavian had fought demons. He had battled Chaos Space Marines. He had stood against Carnifexes and Orc war bosses. But this was beyond his comprehension. "What are you?" he asked, his voice tight with frustration. Alucard appeared directly in front of him, nose to nose. "We're your new reality, darling. Entities that don't play by your rules. We can't be killed. We can't be contained. We can't be reasoned with in ways your Codex Astartes prepared you for. The Emperor. Your Emperor is a corpse on a throne," Alucard interrupted. "I've met gods. I've fought gods. I've killed gods. Your Emperor? He's just a very powerful corpse who convinced 1 trillion humans to worship him." He paused. It's actually quite impressive from a propaganda standpoint. But it won't save you from us." Octavian's hand trembled, the first sign of fear he'd shown in 2 centuries. "You will be stopped. The Imperium has endured for 10,000 years. We have faced horrors beyond counting." "Yeah, we get it," Deadpool interrupted. "But here's the thing, Captain Uptight. You're predictable. Your codex tells you exactly how to respond to every situation, which means once we figure out the pattern, we can just break it." The mask shrank back to normal size and produced a book titled Codex Astartes, Abridged. He flipped through it. "Let's see. Situation: unkillable entities. Response: concentrated firepower. Failed. Try containment. Failed. Retreat and request orbital support." He looked up. "Are we at the orbital support stage yet?" Octavian's vox crackled. "Captain, this is Battle Barge Macrage's honor. We have you on targeting solutions, requesting permission to engage." The captain looked at the 3 beings who had casually dismantled 3 squads of space marines. At the crater they'd created. At the impossible physics they employed. "Negative, Macrage's honor. Orbital bombardment would cause unacceptable collateral damage to the hive." "Then what are your orders, Captain?" Octavian did something he'd never done in 200 years of service. He admitted defeat. "We withdraw." "What?" The vox crackled with shock. "You heard me. Withdraw. We cannot neutralize this threat with current assets." He looked directly at Alucard. "But know this, creature. The Ultramarines do not forget. We will find a way to stop you." Alucard smiled. "I look forward to it." "Really, I do. The next encounter should be even more entertaining. Perhaps by then you'll have loosened up. Maybe tried a joke. Really embraced the absurdity of your situation." The Ultramarines retreated in perfect formation, their pride wounded but their discipline intact. Deadpool waved. "Bye. Come back soon. We'll be here, forever, because we're unkillable." The mask produced a sign reading Ultramarines, 0 unkillable comedy trio. 1 and planted it in the ground. Captain Octavian paused at the extraction point. "They're going to be a problem." "Understatement of the millennium," his sergeant replied. "The pleasure cult of Cathedral Silken Ecstasy made the previous Slaanesh worshippers look like amateurs. They had spent decades perfecting their devotion to She Who Thirsts. Their sanctuary was a monument to excess, gold leaf everywhere, silk curtains that billowed despite no wind, and enough suggestive artwork to make a Renaissance painter blush. High Priestess Lysara reclined on a throne of cushions, her body adorned with jewelry that left very little to the imagination. Around her, 3 dozen cultists engaged in activities that would require content warnings in any other setting. When the trio walked through their doors, Lysara smiled. "Welcome, travelers. We've heard of you, the unkillable ones who made the Imperium tremble." She gestured to the sanctuary. "But surely you've never experienced true pleasure. True excess. True—" "Oh, honey," Alucard interrupted, his voice dripping with condescension. "I've done things that would make Slaanesh herself blush. I've committed atrocities that made the Inquisition invent new categories of heresy. I've engaged in violence so excessive, so intimate, that it became art." He walked toward her throne, his stride predatory. "Your little pleasure cult. It's adorable, like children playing dress-up." Lysara's confidence wavered. You cannot possibly—" "Let me demonstrate," Alucard purred. He pulled out the jackal and casually shot himself in the head. His brains splattered across her expensive silk curtains. The cultists gasped. Then he regenerated, licking blood from his lips. "See? I derive pleasure from my own destruction. Can you say the same?" Deadpool raised his hand. "I'm going to stop you right there, Dracula, because I think what we have here is a misunderstanding. These folks worship a god of excess, right? They think they're so edgy with their pleasure-pain combinations and their, ooh, look at us, we're so naughty aesthetic. We are devoted to the Dark Prince, a cultist protested. Yeah, devoted. We get it, Deadpool said. But here's the thing. You're trying to be inappropriate in a universe where everything is already inappropriate. The Imperium flays people alive as standard punishment. Chaos corrupts souls for breakfast. You're trying to be shocking in a setting where shock value is the baseline. He pulled out his phone, which shouldn't exist in the 41st millennium, but did anyway, because fourth wall breaking. I've got a question for you. What's more excessive, your carefully choreographed pleasure rituals, or me regenerating from a headshot while making jokes about it? The cultists looked at each other, confused. The mask stepped forward. Furthermore, he pulled out a PowerPoint presentation from Hammerspace. A projector screen descended. Let's discuss the true meaning of excess. Slide 1, cartoon violence. The slide showed the mask hitting someone with an enormous mallet. Notice the exaggerated impact, the impossible physics, the complete disregard for biology. That's real excess. Not your boring, oh no, we're doing naughty things routine. Slide 2, the mask continued. Inappropriate humor in inappropriate settings. The slide showed Deadpool making jokes during a space battle. See how he undermines the tension, how he refuses to take anything seriously. That's true devotion to chaos. Slide 3. A picture of Alucard standing in a pile of corpses while looking vaguely aroused. And here we see the vampire treating ultra-violence as foreplay. That's excessive. You can't compete with that level of commitment. Lysara stood from her throne, her confidence returning. You think you can out-excess us? We who have dedicated our lives to pleasure, to pain, to the combination of both? Yes, all three said in unison. Prove it, Lysara challenged. What followed was the most uncomfortable competition in Imperial history. The cultists began their most elaborate ritual. Scented oils, silk ribbons, activities that would require this transcript to be age-restricted. Alucard watched with mild interest, then turned to the nearest cultist. Is this supposed to be arousing? Because I'm more bored than anything. Let me show you how it's done. He proceeded to describe in excruciating detail various acts of violence he'd committed, but he described them with such sultry, suggestive language that the cultists found themselves deeply uncomfortable. He made dismemberment sound like seduction. He made decapitation sound like romance. He made wholesale slaughter sound like an intimate evening for two. And then, Alucard purred, running his finger along a cultist's jawline. I tore out his still-beating heart and whispered sweet nothings to it as it died in my hand. The way it pulsed. Exquisite. The cultist backed away. That's not pleasure. That's just... Isn't it, though? Alucard asked. The line between pleasure and pain is so delightfully thin. I've been walking it for 500 years. You've been practicing for what? A decade? You're amateurs. Deadpool took a different approach. He started making increasingly inappropriate jokes. At first, the cultists laughed. Then they looked uncomfortable. Then they actively tried to make him stop. Okay. So a Slanesh cultist walks into a bar, Deadpool said. The bartender says, we don't serve your kind here. The cultist says, that's fine, I serve myself. Get it, because of the whole self-pleasure thing, no? Tough crowd. Please stop, a cultist begged. Why? I thought you were devoted to excess, to pushing boundaries, to... Deadpool gasped dramatically. Oh my God, you can't handle it, can you? You're fake excess worshippers. You're just wearing the costume. The mask's contribution was the most disturbing. He shape-shifted into progressively more impossible forms, each one more anatomically confusing than the last. He became a living Escher painting. He turned his body inside out and continued talking normally. He split into 17 versions of himself and had a conversation across all of them simultaneously. "This," he announced, his voice coming from multiple mouths at angles that shouldn't exist, "is true excess, not your boring flesh and blood limitations. I operate on cartoon physics. I can be anything, do anything, and I choose to be annoying." The cultists were actively disturbed now. This wasn't what Slaanesh promised. This was just weird and uncomfortable, and somehow more excessive than anything they'd ever imagined. Lysara raised her hands. "Enough, you've made your point." "Have we, though?" Alucard asked, suddenly behind her again. He whispered in her ear, his voice silk and poison. "Because I don't think we have. I think you're still clinging to the delusion that your Dark Prince represents the peak of excess. But we three, we've shown you true chaos, true unpredictability, true devotion to having absolutely no limits whatsoever." Deadpool sat on her throne. "Here's the reality check, priestess. Slaanesh is a chaos god, yeah, all-powerful, corruption incarnate, etc. But even chaos has patterns. Even your Dark Prince has rules. We don't. We operate outside your universe's logic," the mask added, returning to normal form. "We're crossover characters. We bring our own rules, and our rules say we can do anything." Lysara's carefully constructed worldview cracked. "But the Dark Prince promised. She said we would experience pleasures beyond mortal comprehension. And you probably did." Alucard said not unkindly, "But we exist beyond comprehension itself. We're narrative entities in a setting we don't belong in. We're glitches in your reality, and that makes us more excessive than any chaos god could ever be." A cultist stepped forward. "Then, what do we worship now?" "Yourselves," Deadpool suggested. "Or tacos. Tacos are good. Oh wait, those don't exist here. My bad. Worship competitive eating? The spirit of slapstick comedy? I don't know, figure it out." The mask pulled out business cards again. "Or you could join our cult, the cult of the unkillable comedy trio. We offer constant danger, no chance of death, and absolutely zero seriousness about anything." Lysara looked at her cultists. At the sanctuary she'd spent decades building, at the devotion she'd given to Slaanesh. Then she looked at the three beings who had casually out-exceeded the god of excess itself. "This is a nightmare," she whispered. "Nope," the mask said cheerfully. "This is Warhammer 40k, where everything is terrible all the time, and we just made it weirder." Alucard lit a cigarette and blew smoke rings. "You're welcome, by the way. We've just freed you from your devotion to chaos. You no longer have to worry about demon possession or corruption, because compared to us, even demons are predictable." "Speaking of demons," Deadpool pointed at the ceiling. A rift opened in reality. A keeper of secrets, greater demon of Slaanesh, impossibly beautiful and utterly horrifying, began to emerge. "Mortals," it boomed in a voice like breaking glass and screaming violins, "you have summoned." The mask pulled out his vacuum cleaner again. "Not this time, Krabby." The demon's 6 eyes widened in recognition and horror. "You, not you again." "Yes, me again." The mask cranked the vacuum to maximum power. The demon tried to retreat back into the warp, but the vacuum was already pulling it forward. The Keeper of Secrets grabbed the edges of the rift, its claws tearing reality as it tried to resist. "This is impossible," the demon shrieked. "Cartoon physics, baby," the mask shouted. With an undignified schlorpy sound, the greater demon was sucked into the vacuum cleaner bag. The mask patted it fondly. "That's 2 demons captured. I'm gonna start a collection." The cultists stared in absolute silence. Lysara fell to her knees. You just captured a greater demon in a vacuum cleaner." "Technically, this is the 2nd time," Deadpool explained. "We're getting pretty good at it, which is weird, right? You'd think the warp would adapt. But nope, cartoon physics beats chaos every time." Alucard surveyed the broken cultists. Well, this was fun. Traumatic for you, perhaps, but fun for us. Any questions before we leave? One cultist raised a shaking hand. Are you demons? Nope, the mask said. Are you gods? Nope, Deadpool added. Then what are you? Alucard smiled his predatory smile. We're something far worse, darling. We're unkillable, shameless, and completely committed to making every faction in this miserable universe deeply uncomfortable. Starting with you. He turned toward the exit, his crimson coat billowing. Come along, gentlemen. I believe we've traumatized enough Slanesh worshippers for one day. As they left, they could hear Lysara sobbing. We dedicated our lives to excess, and they just... with a vacuum cleaner. I know, right? The mask called back. Comedy Gold, Section 8. Level 0, release gone wrong. Alucard's dramatic moment ruined by Deadpool's commentary and Mask's props. Section 9. The galaxy's new problem. 3 immortals decide the 41st millennium is their new home. These need to be the climax and resolution. Let me think about how to handle this. Section 8 should feature Alucard attempting his dramatic Level 0 release, unleashing all the souls he's consumed. This being constantly interrupted and undermined by Deadpool and the Mask. A major threat that would normally call for this. Maybe the Imperium's final attempt to stop them, or a major chaos incursion. The comedy of Alucard, trying to be dramatic, while his companions ruin it, all 3 at full power, creating absolute chaos. The 41st millennium, realizing these 3 are permanent fixtures. Section 9 should wrap up with the trio deciding to stay, various factions' reactions. The new status quo, hints at future chaos. 200-word conclusion after the section, let me write these. Maintaining the comedy tone, grammar perfection, and making sure all 3 characters shine. Section 8, the final confrontation came in the form of Inquisitor Lord Mordecai Vex and his personal fleet. 12 ships, 3,000 inquisitorial stormtroopers, an entire company of Grey Knights, and the authorization to use cyclonic torpedoes if necessary. They cornered the trio in the Administratum District, a killing zone prepared with overlapping fields of fire, psychic dampeners, and enough concentrated firepower to level a small continent. Inquisitor Lord Vex stood in his command chimera, his augmetic voice booming across the district. Heretics, by the authority of the Holy Inquisition, you are hereby condemned to obliteration. Your crimes against the Imperium are getting really long-winded, Deadpool interrupted. Seriously, do you guys take classes in dramatic speeches? Because you're all reading from the same script. By the authority of blah blah, you are condemned to blah blah. Mix it up. Try a haiku. Make it interesting. A Grey Knight stepped forward, his force sword crackling with psychic energy. We are the Emperor's chosen. We have banished greater demons. You will fall before... The Mask pulled out a giant hook and yanked him off his feet. Terrible intro. D-, no razzle-dazzle. Vex's augmetic eye twitched. All units, fire! The world exploded into violence. Las fire, bolter rounds, plasma blasts, melter beams, psychic lightning, every weapon in the Inquisition's arsenal unleashed simultaneously. The sound was deafening. The light was blinding. When the smoke cleared, the trio stood in a crater deep enough to see the hive's foundations. Deadpool's costume was shredded. Alucard's coat was torn. The mask looked slightly singed. They regenerated in seconds. Okay, Deadpool said, brushing dust off his shoulder. That was actually impressive, like solid B+ on the violence scale. You guys are learning. Alucard surveyed the assembled forces with predatory interest. Finally, something that might require actual effort. He reached up and touched his glasses. I think this calls for something special. Oh no, Deadpool said. I know that voice. That's your "I'm about to do something dramatically excessive" voice. Indeed, Alucard purred. He spread his arms wide and shadows began bleeding from his body like oil. These fools want to see power? Let me show them what 500 years of consumption looks like. The sky darkened. Reality bent. The Grey Knights immediately recognized warp phenomena and began chanting banishments. "Not warp-based!" Alucard shouted over their chanting. "God, you people are thick! I'm a vampire from a different dimension. Your anti-demon prayers do nothing." He began the release sequence, his voice dropping to a theatrical growl. Releasing control art restriction system to level 1, level 2, level 3. "Are you seriously doing the countdown?" Deadpool asked incredulously. "Silence," Alucard commanded. "This is my moment. I've been waiting to do this properly. In my dimension, I never get to finish the whole speech." Level 4. Level 5. The mask pulled out a scoreboard that read, "Dramatic countdown in progress. Level 6. Level 7. "Could you go any slower?" Deadpool asked, "because I'm pretty sure they're lining up more shots while you monologue." "Shut up," Alucard snarled. "I'm being atmospheric. Level 8. Level 9. The Grey Knights opened fire with cyclones. The blessed rounds tore through Alucard's body. He ignored them, his form already regenerating even as new holes appeared. Level 10. Level 11. Deadpool looked at the audience. The fourth wall. "Folks, this is gonna take a while. He's got like 30 levels or something. Maybe grab a snack." "There are exactly 30 levels and I will complete the sequence," Alucard roared. The mask produced popcorn and began eating it loudly. Crunch, crunch, crunch. Level 12. Level 13. An entire squad of stormtroopers charged with power weapons. The mask casually extended his leg, and they all tripped over it in sequence like a comedy routine. Level 14. Level 15. "You know what would make this better?" Deadpool asked. "Background music. Hey, mask, you got anything dramatic?" The mask pulled out a boom box and started playing yakety sax, the Benny Hill theme. "No," Alucard shouted. "Not that. Something ominous. Something that matches the gravitas of..." "Level 16, Deadpool prompted. "Because you stopped counting." Alucard's eye twitched. "Level 16, level 17. A Valkyrie gunship strafed their position. The mask pulled out a giant fly swatter and knocked it out of the sky. It crashed into a building with a satisfying boom. "Stop undermining my dramatic moment," Alucard screamed. "Stop taking so long," Deadpool countered. "We've been here for like 5 minutes and you're only on level 17. At this rate, the heat death of the universe will happen before you finish." Level 18. Level 19. The mask pulled out a slow sign like construction workers use and held it up. Alucard's patience snapped. "Fine, releasing all restrictions. Level 0. There, are you happy?" Reality screamed. The shadows around Alucard exploded outward, and from them emerged souls, thousands of them. Every person he'd consumed over 5 centuries. They manifested as ghosts, as memories, as screaming faces in the darkness. The effect was genuinely terrifying. The inquisitorial forces stepped back. Even the Grey Knights hesitated. "Behold," Alucard announced, his voice echoing with 1,000 others. "The no-life king, the bird of Hermes, the count, I am..." Deadpool started golf clapping. "Yay, very impressive. 10 out of 10 for presentation. Solid execution. Could have been faster, but..." "I will kill you later," Alucard growled. The mask examined the army of souls. "Ooh, spooky ghosts, can they juggle?" One of the souls, a medieval peasant, looked confused. "Juggle? We're supposed to be terrifying?" "You are terrifying," Alucard insisted. You're the collected deaths of my victims, the weight of my sins made manifest. You represent daddy issues, Deadpool suggested. What? No. Control issues. Stop it. The mask pulled out a Ouija board. Let's ask them. Spirits, why are you here? The souls looked at each other. One spoke up, a soldier from some long-forgotten war. Honestly, we're not sure anymore. We were consumed, then we became part of him, and now we're this? Do you mind? Alucard asked his own souls. I'm trying to intimidate our enemies here. Oh, sorry, the soldier soul said. Right, yes. Whoa. We're very scary. Whoa. The inquisitorial forces stared in confusion. Deadpool burst out laughing. Oh my God, even your ultimate power is getting the comedy treatment. This is amazing. I hate both of you so much right now, Alucard shouted. The souls began drifting around, examining the 41st millennium with curiosity. One approached a stormtrooper. Excuse me, what year is it? The 41st millennium, the trooper responded automatically. Oh dear, we've gone quite far forward, haven't we? Another soul spotted a grey knight. Ooh, you're fancy. Is that power armor? How does it work? The grey knight looked to his brothers for guidance. His training had not prepared him for friendly ghosts asking technical questions. Alucard was actively vibrating with frustration. This is not how this is supposed to go. You're all supposed to tear through our enemies like a swarm of locusts. Consume them, destroy them, be frightening. But they've got such interesting technology, a scholar soul said, examining a cycnon. I've never seen anything like this. The way it channels psychic energy through blessed ammunition is fascinating. The mask produced a phone and started taking selfies with the souls. Say ectoplasm. Ectoplasm, the souls chorused, posing. Deadpool walked up to Alucard and patted his shoulder. You know what your problem is? You're trying to be intimidating in a universe where everything is already intimidating. Grimdark is the baseline here. Your army of souls. That's like a Tuesday for these people. But my dramatic moment, Alucard looked genuinely deflated, was very nice, one soul assured him. Very theatrical. We appreciated the effort. That's not the point, Alucard roared. Inquisitor Lord Vex activated his vox, his voice tight with confusion. Command, situation update. The vampire has released what appears to be 500 years of collected souls. They are currently making small talk with our forces. Repeat that, Inquisitor. The souls are being friendly, sir. There was a long pause. This is unprecedented. Tell me about it, Alucard screamed into the sky. A grey knight approached cautiously. So, are you going to attack us or? The souls looked at Alucard. Alucard looked at the souls. The souls shrugged. I mean, one said, we could attack them, if you really want us to. But honestly, we're kind of curious about this whole God-Emperor thing they keep mentioning. Is he actually a god? Another soul asked the Grey Knight. The Emperor is the master of mankind, Yeah, but is he a god, or just a really powerful psyker? The Grey Knight paused. That's actually a complex theological question. No, Alucard shouted. No theological discussions. You're supposed to be killing them. We're dead, a soul pointed out. We can't really kill anyone. We're just sort of here. Deadpool was actively crying with laughter behind his mask. This is the best. You tried to do your big dramatic power move and it turned into a meet and greet. The mask organized the souls into a conga line. Everybody conga? The souls, having nothing better to do, joined the conga line. They danced through the battlefield, weaving between confused inquisitorial forces. Alucard stood in the center of it all, his ultimate power completely neutralized by the sheer absurdity of his companions. I give up, he said quietly. I give up. You win. Comedy wins. The entire concept of taking anything seriously is dead. That's the spirit. Deadpool said cheerfully. "Welcome to our world, where nothing matters and the points are made up." The mask pulled Alucard into the conga line. "Come on, sourpuss. If you can't beat him, join him." And so, in the middle of what should have been an epic final battle, the Inquisitor, Lord Vex, watched as an army of souls conga danced through his forces, while a vampire looked like he wanted to die, but couldn't. A mercenary laughed hysterically, and a green-faced chaos agent led the whole procession. One of the Grey Knights lowered his sight cannon. "Brother Sergeant, I don't think we can win this." "I don't think anyone can win this," the sergeant replied. Inquisitor Lord Vex made a decision. He activated his fleet-wide vox. "All forces, stand down." "Sir?" Multiple voices responded in confusion. "I said stand down. We cannot defeat them with conventional means. We cannot contain them. We cannot even make them take us seriously." He looked at the conga line. "I'm declaring this a containment situation. Monitor them. Record their movements. But do not engage unless they pose an immediate threat to Imperial citizens." "And if they do pose a threat?" Vex watched as the mask taught a soul how to tap dance. "Then the Emperor help us all." Alucard finally broke free from the conga line and walked over to Vex. "I just want you to know," he said quietly, "that I could have destroyed all of you, easily. My power is immense. My capabilities are beyond your comprehension." "I believe you," Vex said. "But they..." Alucard pointed at Deadpool and the mask. "They ruin everything. Every dramatic moment, every serious battle, every attempt at proper intimidation." "I see that. It's infuriating." "I imagine it is." They stood in silence for a moment, watching Deadpool teach souls how to do the Macarena. "Welcome to Warhammer 40k, Vex said finally, "where even ultimate power can be undermined by cartoon physics and fourth wall breaking." Alucard lit a cigarette. "I hate it here. Everyone does. I'm never leaving." "I feared you'd say that." 3 months later, the Imperium had adapted to its new reality. 3 unkillable entities who treated the 41st millennium like their personal playground. The Administratum had created a new department just to track their movements. File designation, Entity Omega-3. Status, uncontained. Threat level, unclear. Recommendation, avoid direct engagement. Deadpool had discovered the Underhive fighting pits and made them significantly weirder. He fought every night, regenerating from increasingly absurd injuries while providing running commentary. The crowds loved it. The pit bosses were disturbed. He'd made the equivalent of 17 million thrones in betting pools by wagering against himself and then deliberately losing in spectacular fashion. The mask had started a traveling show that moved through the Hive cities. The Incredible Mask's Carnival of Impossibilities. It featured cartoon violence, physics-defying stunts, and musical numbers that appeared from nowhere. Citizens attended in droves. The Ecclesiarchy tried to ban it 17 times. It never worked. The mask just moved to a different district and continued. Alucard had found his calling in the most unexpected place. He'd become a consultant for the Inquisition. Inquisitor Helena Corvus sat across from him in her private office, her expression somewhere between resignation and genuine curiosity. "Explain to me again why you're helping us." Alucard took a sip from a wine glass filled with something that definitely wasn't wine. "I'm bored. Your enemies are boring. I've fought the same chaos cultists, the same demons, the same predictable heretics 57 times in 3 months. They all follow the same patterns. It's tedious. So you're offering to help us? Because we're too predictable." "Precisely. If I help you become better at your job, your enemies will have to adapt. Better enemies mean better entertainment." He smiled. Enlightened self-interest. Corvus studied him. "You're a monster." "Yes, but I'm a monster with 500 years of experience hunting monsters. Use me." She pulled out a data slate showing a Genestealer cult infestation. Sigma Hive. Estimated 2,000 cultists. We've lost 3 teams trying to root them out. Alucard examined the data. "You're approaching it wrong. You're treating it like a military operation. It's not. It's a cancer. You need to find the Patriarch and remove it. The rest will collapse." He pointed to the hive schematics. "Here. Based on the pattern of disappearances, the Patriarch is in sub-level 47. Send in 2 agents, not 20. Quiet, surgical. I'll go with them if you want." "You do that." "Like I said, I'm bored." Corvus made a note. "The Ordo Xenos will want to debrief you. Tell them I charge by the hour, and I only accept payment in interesting prey." He stood, his crimson coat swirling. "Oh, and tell your Grey Knights to stop trying to banish me. It's adorable, but it's getting old. They're just doing their job. Their job is ineffective against me. Suggest they adapt." He paused at the door. "Actually, no, don't tell them. Their continued failure amuses me." Meanwhile, Deadpool had discovered the local administratum building and decided it needed optimization. "Okay," he announced, standing on a desk while terrified scribes tried to continue their work. "I've been observing your operations for 6 hours, and I have notes." A tired administrator looked up. "Please, we just want to file our reports." "Exactly, reports. You file 17 copies of everything. 17. Do you know how much paper that wastes?" "Well, actually, you probably do know because you track it in reports. But still, efficiency." He pulled out a tablet that absolutely should not exist in the 41st millennium. "I've created a digital filing system. Look, search functions, cloud storage, instant access. No more spending 6 hours searching through scrolls." "That's heresy," a tech priest said flatly. "Is it though, or is it just good organization?" Deadpool countered. "Your machine spirits would love this. It's all electronic. Very spiritual for them." The tech priest paused, his augmetic eye whirring. "Continue." "See? Progress. Now, let's talk about your forms. Form 17B for requisition requests combines with Form 44 Alpha for approval processing. Why not one form?" The scribes gasped in horror. I know, revolutionary, but hear me out." An administratum official burst through the door. "The unkillable one has infiltrated our processing department." "I prefer optimized," Deadpool corrected. The mask's carnival had attracted an unexpected visitor, a young child from the lower hives who'd never seen entertainment before. She stood at the entrance, eyes wide, clutching a torn stuffed animal. The mask appeared in a puff of smoke. "Hello, tiny human." She didn't flinch. Life in the Underhive taught children not to fear strange things. "Are you really magic?" "Magic. Magic." The mask gasped dramatically. "I'm not magic. I'm Toon Force, which is better than magic. Magic has rules. I have none." He pulled out a lollipop the size of her head. "Here, free admission for adorable tiny humans." She took it cautiously. "Why? Why what? Why are you being nice? Nobody in the hive is nice." The mask's manic expression softened. "Just for a moment. Because, kiddo, this whole universe is super depressing. And I figure if I can make one kid smile, then maybe it's slightly less depressing. Does that make sense?" "No." "Good. Now come on. We've got dancing servitors, flying orcs, and a vampire who gets really mad when we ruin his dramatic moments." Later, when the show ended, the child returned to her family with stories of impossible things. Her parents didn't believe her. But she kept the lollipop, and every night she remembered that somewhere in the darkness there was a green man who made people laugh. Grimtooth's Wah had not left Terastus. They'd set up camp in the industrial sector, much to the Imperium's horror. But every attempt to dislodge them failed because the orcs had one very effective defense they'd call Deadpool. Oi de Humies is attacking again. Deadpool would arrive, negotiate with the Imperial Guard commander, and somehow, through a combination of fourth wall breaking, inappropriate jokes, and genuine tactical advice, convince both sides to stand down. Look, he'd tell the guard, the orcs are having fun. You're not losing territory. They're just here, living their best life, fighting each other mostly. Why waste resources on a battle you can't win when you could use those resources against, I don't know, actual threats? It shouldn't work, but it did. Every time. Grimtooth appreciated this. Use a good git, Deadpool. Oh, thanks. You're a good fungus. I ain't a fungus. You literally are, though. Your species reproduces through spores. Oh yeah, I forgot. They'd started a weekly card game. Deadpool, Grimtooth, and whatever orcs wanted to join. Sometimes Alucard showed up, made everything deeply uncomfortable with his commentary, and left. The mask occasionally burst in with fireworks. It was the strangest alliance in Imperial history. But it worked. Inquisitor Lord Vex presented his findings to the Conclave of Inquisitors via holo-conference. In summary, he concluded, Entity Omega-3 represents an unprecedented situation. They cannot be killed, cannot be contained, cannot be controlled, but, he paused, they don't appear to be actively hostile to the Imperium. Don't appear? An Inquisitor questioned. They've destroyed cathedrals, allied with Xenos, corrupted citizens. They've also eliminated 17 Chaos cults, provided tactical intelligence that saved Sigma Hive, and somehow convinced an Orc war to remain non-aggressive, Vex countered. Their impact is chaotic, but not entirely negative. This is heresy. Everything is heresy, Vex said tiredly. The question is, what do we do about it? The Conclave argued for hours. Some wanted total war, others suggested containment. A few recommended studying them. In the end, they reached an unprecedented decision: monitored tolerance. The entities would be watched, tracked, and documented. But unless they posed an immediate threat, the Imperium would not engage. It was the most pragmatic decision ever made by the Inquisition, which meant most Inquisitors hated it. The trio reconvened in their claimed territory, the ruined cathedral where they'd first arrived. They decorated it with stolen furniture, orc graffiti, and a surprising amount of comfort items. Deadpool sprawled on a looted couch. So, 3 months in Grimdark Central. How are we feeling? Entertained, Alucard said, pouring himself a drink. This dimension provides adequate stimulus. The violence is constant. The enemies are numerous. The opportunities for causing dramatic distress are endless. I love it here. The mask bounced on his chair. Nobody takes themselves more seriously than these people, which makes them perfect straight men for comedy. Plus, cartoon physics works. I can do anything. The Imperium hates us, Deadpool observed. Obviously, Alucard confirmed. Chaos is confused by us. Delightfully so. The orcs think we're great. They have excellent taste. And we're stuck here. No way home. Probably forever. They sat in silence for a moment. I'm okay with that, Deadpool said. As am I, Alucard agreed. Me three, the mask added. Deadpool looked at the fourth wall. You hear that, folks? The unkillable comedy trio is officially residents of the 41st millennium. Warhammer 40k just got significantly weirder, and it was already pretty weird to begin with. Alucard raised his glass. To chaos. To violence, the mask added. To making the Imperium regret every decision that led to this moment, Deadpool concluded. They clinked glasses. Outside, the Hive City continued its endless cycle of industry and suffering. The Imperium's machinery ground on, indifferent to individual lives. The warp pulsed with malevolent energy. Chaos plotted. Xenos threatened. The galaxy burned. And in the heart of it all, three unkillable entities who treated it all like a joke had found their home. The 41st millennium had faced Horus's betrayal. It had endured the age of apostasy. It had survived the Tyranid hive fleets and the opening of the Great Rift. But nothing, absolutely nothing, had prepared it for Deadpool, Alucard, and the Mask deciding to stay. Somewhere in the warp, the Chaos Gods felt a collective shudder. Not fear, exactly, but recognition that something had fundamentally changed. These three beings didn't worship chaos, didn't fear it, didn't even acknowledge its importance. They were something new, something outside the great game. And that was more disturbing than any prayer or piety could ever be. The Emperor, preserved in his endless vigil upon the Golden Throne, perhaps sensed the disturbance. Three souls that existed outside his sight, beyond his influence, immune to his divine will. They were variables in an equation he could not solve. But if the master of mankind was troubled, he gave no sign. The Astronomicon burned on, the Imperium endured, and in the darkness between stars, the laughter of unkillable gods, or monsters, or comedians, depending on one's perspective, echoed through the void. The Administratum would file endless reports. The Inquisition would maintain constant surveillance. The Ecclesiarchy would preach against the heretical trio who mocked all that was holy. But nothing would change. Because you cannot kill the unkillable, you cannot contain the uncontainable. You cannot silence those who operate by rules you don't understand. Deadpool, Alucard, and the Mask had arrived in the 41st millennium by accident. They stayed by choice, and in choosing to remain, they had done something impossible. They had made the grimdark galaxy slightly less dark. Not through heroism, not through sacrifice, but through the simple, stubborn refusal to take any of it seriously. In the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war, but now, there is also laughter, inappropriate, uncomfortable, unending laughter. The Emperor protects, but against the unkillable comedy trio, even he might need help.